This business about a conspiracy amongst the GOP elites to disenfranchise millions of voters, to betray them, to betray the principles of the party, the traditions, the values, and betray the nominee is just about, I would think, as much as most people can stomach in this country. Is the Republican Party first trying to commit suicide in the person of the leadership of Paul Ryan in particular?
Well, the whole story just fell in my lap. About 6 or 8 weeks ago, I got a phone call from someone who's very close to the top establishment candidates in the Republican Party, people who wanted to be president over the last 4 or 5 years. And he told me, he said, "Jerry, something strange is going on. They're meeting regularly, and they tell me that it's a certainty that Donald Trump will not be the nominee on November 8th of the Republican Party." And I called one of Trump's attorneys. I told him about it, but there were no more details than that, so there was nothing anybody could do. But then when I saw what happened this weekend, and I saw how quickly all the usual suspects jumped on it and started calling for Trump to step down as the nominee.
The suspects, who are the usual suspects? Paul Ryan?
The establishment. The establishment candidates. He was one that just disinvited Trump almost immediately. Right. It's almost like he knew it was coming, and it's just too much of a coincidence. Others were tweeting nasty things about Trump immediately. Ted Cruz, who I do not consider to be part of the establishment. He, on the other hand, was saying this should have been released 15 months ago. That's what you would expect.
He was a little annoyed about the timing.
Exactly. But it tells me he wasn't part of it. But I really think that there was some sort of conspiracy. And, you know, I haven't practiced law in about 10 years, but I remember from when I did that a conspiracy is defined as whenever 2 or more people engage in a scheme to harm a third person. The harm doesn't have to be illegal. Right. And so I've gone to the proper authorities with what I was told, and hopefully, you know, it's probably too late to prosecute anybody, but I think what they
can you share names here with us about who was making these statements?
I wish I could. The person who called me said he couldn't reveal his identity, and so I can't. But it was just you know, it's not only despicable. I think it maybe rises to the level of criminal behavior.
Well, let me ask you this. If you can't tell us the names, and I was not asking you to name your source in any way. I was thinking more, are these people who are associated with the RNC, with the leadership on Capitol Hill of either the Senate or the House? How high does it rise?
Very high, but not necessarily the people you just mentioned. I think it's people who were candidates at some point in the last year or 4 years or 5 years, and so it's very high level. Let
me ask it this way: one of the people involved in this this scandal was a guy by the name of Billy Bush, who is a cousin of George W. and Jeb Bush. Is it a coincidence that there would be a Bush involved in the cast of names?
There's too many strange coincidences in this whole episode that happened this weekend, in my view, and it may be nothing to it, but it did fall in my lap, and I did tell the WABC radio about it the night at midnight after the debate the other night.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you this as we have to wrap up here. We're out of time. Is it your sense that the Republican National Committee, that the leadership of both the Senate and the House are prepared to just simply commit political suicide? At least it is as if they don't understand that without supporting Donald Trump, there will be a significantly lower level of interest in returning Republicans to the House or to the Senate. This seems like utter madness on its face.
I agree completely, but I don't think it's the party. I think it's certain establishment Republicans in the party who really don't care whether Clinton's president as long as Trump is not. It's how you would expect the establishment to react because they have so much to lose.
Well then,
my opinion.
Well then I'll tell you this, everybody else in the country better start fighting like hell for Donald Trump and voting, assuring a broad, deep voter turnout.
I couldn't agree more. And I think he's going to win.
All right.
I think with all this, I think one more good debate performance and the polls will be our way.
All right. Jerry Falwell, Jr., always good to talk with you. We appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Lou.
Thanks so much.